This episode is brought to you by the Denver Art Museum. Check out the Denver Art Museum's next late-night event, Untitled Artist Takeover, happening on Friday, April 25th from 6 to 10 p.m. Experience a vibrant night of art, performances, hands-on art making, a pop-up bar, and unique experiences led by local artists Buffalo Barbie and Sarah Ortegon Highwalking. Drop by a spoken word performance or join in on the excitement of a hat and boot dance inside one of the galleries. It's a nighttime atmosphere, which automatically changes how the museum feels. And the local connection, obviously, is my favorite part about Untitled, is like getting to see local artists in this revered space. I don't know. It's just, I've seen so many of my friends do this, and I've also found new artists in Denver through going to Untitled. So I'm excited to check this out. Untitled Artist Takeover is included in general admission and free for Denver Art Museum members. Reserve your tickets today at denverartmuseum.org. That's denverartmuseum.org. This episode is brought to you by Pine Melon. Ever wish you could get farm fresh produce, eggs, dairy, and meat delivered right to your door? Well, thanks to Pine Melon, it's easy to have the Colorado Farmers Market delivered. Get all your small batch local faves you can't find at the chain grocery store dropped right on your doorstep. Simply visit pinemelon.com or download the app and use our code CityCast to get 75% off your first time. That's pinemelon.com, and don't forget, use our code CityCast to get 75% off. Today on CityCast Denver, will voters say yes to more debt? As the mayor hosts community feedback meetings across the city to pitch his vibrant Denver bond, there's skepticism among constituents and council members alike. Then listeners ask, how divided are Denver Democrats? And why should you pay for the A-line to DIA anyway? Producer Paul Caroli and I dig into this week's news and your burning questions. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Hey, Paul.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Before we get into the show, we just have a little thing we want to talk about really quickly.
The Nuggets.
Yeah, that as well.
The actual thing I want to talk about.
I do want to talk about that too, but I told you I didn't watch the game because I don't have my Hacker TV anymore.
I was shocked.
I know. And my husband was watching it on a weird stream on his phone. And anyway, I promise I will watch the next game. I can't even believe I didn't watch a Clippers game.
I mean, it was an exciting finish. Westbrook, some good plays.
I know. Greg was like, why does he do so bad and then do really good?
Interesting guy. Fun to watch.
Makes him a good player.
In my opinion. And then tonight, the Avs and the Nuggets are playing at the same time. How did Mr. Kroenke allow this to happen?
I know.
I want to watch both of his products.
And that feels like a bad return on investment. You want people to watch both.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I guess he doesn't have control.
I just imagine him, what is it? He's like swimming in money. He doesn't.
Up in his penthouse on top of Ball Arena.
I want to go in there so bad.
It's just like ever since I learned that and I drive past Ball Arena, you can just see it's like a whole mansion built on top of the arena.
And I imagine based on when the arena was built that it looks real 90s on the inside of that penthouse. And so I'm imagining one of the Zillow Gone Wilds I've looked at from the 90s, and that's probably what it looks like.
Anyway, you were saying.
We were actually talking about our membership campaign. It's our spring membership campaign, and you can join us and support us at membership.citycast.fm, and you get a free coffee mug when you become a neighbor.
That's the new thing. Be a neighbor. Be our neighbor.
Be our neighbor.
Which I love. I feel like our listeners are neighbors. I feel like they know us.
Like, I mean, I feel like
you hear us grow, you hear us learn about the city together. It's great.
And we talk about things that I think are important to most folks' neighborhoods. We are at neighborhood level all the time. So, and when you join to become a CityCast neighbor, we'll shout you out.
Like this morning, we had 2 new neighbors join already.
Kate Williams and my friend Jacqueline A.F. West.
Shout out to you two. Thanks for joining. Thanks for supporting the show.
Jacqueline and I used to fold shirts together at the Gap.
Oh, okay.
Now she's like doing amazing things as an advocate. Long story, but she's a member now.
Cool.
So
our neighbor.
So,
all right, let's talk about the news.
Okay, the news, the bond.
Another bond.
Another bond.
Another big bond.
This is like the 3rd bond in less than a decade.
I've seen that they used to do them every like 10 years or so, but now they're doing them like every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting question I don't have an answer to. I don't know why that is accelerating.
Maybe we ask the mayor?
We should definitely ask the mayor. This is his thing. This is his big new project this year.
Well, there were 2 in the last 10 years under Hancock, and then this is the
2017, 2021.
Yes.
And now this is, I think, Johnston's first, or it will be.
So tell us what's going on with the bond. How much
is a bond?
It? Yeah.
What is this?
What is
Where am I?
A bond?
This year he's going for $800 million, and we're going to vote on it in November. But what it is debt. So a bond is just like a thing you can buy. Anyone can buy a bond. Cities do this all the time. A municipal bond. I could buy one for Peoria, and then Peoria would owe me interest on the money. So by putting out a bond like this, we're basically just saying like, okay, go ahead, give us money now. We'll pay you back later, plus interest.
What do we want to do with this bond? What are we want to take out a big loan.
Well, that's the fun part of this one. The mayor's idea this time around is to kind of let the people decide. That's why he's doing this tour of neighborhoods, and he's going around and hosting these little open houses, and he's doing a survey to hear how people want to spend all that money. So I think they probably have some specific ideas. I mean, that part's actually mildly controversial, potentially more controversial later in the year, how they're going to pick the projects.
Sure.
I suggested Big Blue Elephant for Sloan's Lake, my favorite pet project.
I told you you're going to get big new building blocks outside of the Westwood Rec Center. So
that's cool. I like Big Blue stuff. I want Big Blue animals.
Okay.
That's what I think Denver needs to lean into. That's my personal campaign.
I'm really into like sidewalk safety would be cool. That kind of thing. Some someone I think said this in the Denver Post article. Someone yelled, repave Monaco, repave Alameda. That's where I'm at with the bond. Please. Well, okay, let's talk about some other, I'd love to put this in perspective of like, we just talked about previous bonds. What did those bonds pay for?
Well, all sorts of stuff. I mean, I think the most interesting thing is what they didn't pay for. The most recent one in 2021, the mayor wanted to build a new stadium at the National Western Center. And the bond that year, he divided it into 5 categories of different types of stuff. Like some were different kinds of infrastructure. And then the one was the stadium. And voters were like, nah, we don't need to build a new stadium.
But if you're into, I don't know, expansion of our park system or renovations to libraries, which we've seen.
Playgrounds, parks.
Schools.
That's a big priority people have filled out in the survey. The other thing people are talking about a lot is transit infrastructure, like street safety, repaving stuff.
That makes so much sense to me. I mean, I think this is cool in that it is one of those moments where it's not just like you can feel part of the process, but like, I'm just thinking back to these other bonds, and like the Westwood Rec Center was one of those bonds I voted on. They're literally building it right now. So being able to see something I voted on coming to fruition is one of the cool parts about, I think, this process. But not everybody is on board with these bonds. I mean, this is debt, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's debt, and that's always, I mean, everyone has opinions about that. There's one guy, apparently, this was in the Denver Post article this morning about it. I thought this was fascinating. The quote from the article, for this round of community engagement, Johnston isn't the only one who's been at every public input meeting. Jason Bailey, who runs the group Citizens for No New Debt, has also attended each one to disperse flyers opposing the initiative. Bailey argues that bonds aren't a good financial choice for the city because the long-term cost for a project paid using debt is higher than it would be if it were paid out of pocket. The trade-offs are similar to purchasing a new car with a financing plan versus cash. Which is correct.
Yeah.
He's right.
That's just another way to do it.
But also, do we have that cash now?
No,
we do not.
No, I was going to say we were at a shortfall.
Yeah.
I believe at the state level and the municipal level.
Yeah. So that's the decision facing voters is like, is now the right time to invest back in the city?
I'm thinking back about this conversation we had on Monday with Brad Siegel about downtown. What happens in a recession? You know, I'm thinking about those moments and how this might feel a little bit uneasy for folks where we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple years. Sure.
I mean, it's really an investment in the future of the city, you know, because like that's why these bonds are seen as so safe. Because like, is Denver going anywhere? No. There's going to be people paying taxes here for decades to come, unless there's something catastrophic that happens, which it can happen. I mean, this is what's happening in Puerto Rico right now. They issued bonds like 10 years ago, and then they defaulted on those bonds. And so now they have all this distressed debt that got bought up by hedge fund managers.
I'm not laughing. I mean, this sounds like
horrible.
Really terrible outcome.
I mean, it depends on how you feel about capitalism generally, I think. I mean, everyone has their own opinion about that. But for a lot of Puerto Ricans, it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about, like, what do they repo? You can't repo the art museum. Like,
repo taxes. That's what these bonds are backed by. The full faith and credit of the city. So right now we can say it's no new taxes, but in a catastrophic circumstance,
it would have to get paid somehow.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's good to know that there's another voice just to hear, like, what is it? Because I have to say, these types of projects, the bond projects always feel like rah, like, just let's do it. The city needs, and like, I agree. I of course I want to see improvements to my city, especially when you can see it in real life at your rec centers, your schools, your public parks, your libraries. But at the same time, I can see maybe we need to know what the other side might look like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an interesting debate to have. I kind of want to reach out to this Jason Bailey person, hear more about this, because I think the conversation there is more complicated maybe than it seems. And we got a lot of time to think about it. I mean, November is when the vote will be.
I just liked this quote from Mayor Johnston in the Denver Post. What we are doing is identifying key opportunities for investment and capital projects in your neighborhood that create moments of joy.
Moments of joy.
Truthfully, Paco Sanchez Park got a second phase of renovation, and that was part of the bond. And I do think it brings a moment of joy.
Beautiful park. Oh, the playgrounds there are so good.
So,
unfortunately, no joy at the National Western Center.
No.
if what brings you joy is a new arena.
Maybe they'll try. I'm sure they'll try again in 10 years. Knowing the city.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you got to keep investing in the city in the future, I guess.
Yeah.
Greeley just approved a new arena for the minor league hockey team up there.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm always interested when these cities outside of Denver invest in that kind of thing, especially an arena that might be used for not just sports, but concerts and other events, a little bit of competition.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The cities are in competition.
Yeah.
For all sorts of things. So like the investment is also a way of saying like, hey, we're open for business.
And say like you want to live in a smaller town maybe than Denver, but you want to have some of those amenities that you love about Denver. That seems like one of those investments for sure.
Definitely.
Interesting. Well, we would love to know what you think about this bond or the projects that the city might take on. Give us a call, 720-500-5418 on the Denver Bond. Vibrant Denver is Denver Vibrant hotline, 720-500-5418. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll hear from our listeners. This episode is brought to you by Pine Melon. Pine Melon is a unique local grocery delivery service. Think of it as the Colorado Farmers Market delivered. Besides just supporting local farmers and businesses, Pine Melon is also helping the environment. Each of their delivery vans keeps 50 cars off the street, and their returnable and reusable delivery boxes save 5,000 grocery bags every single week. This spring, Pine Melon is asking Denverites to make a pledge to support local food just once a month, and they're going to make it super easy for you. First-time customers get 75% off your first order. Just use the code CityCast. When you choose food that's grown, raised, and crafted right here in Colorado, you're choosing to protect the environment, improve your health, and help your community thrive. Whether you're getting some fresh produce delivered or the ingredients to make your favorite cookie recipe, it's cool to know you're making a difference. Visit pinemelon.com or download the app and use our coupon code CityCast to get started with 75% off. That's pinemelon.com and use the code CityCast to get 75% off. This episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. What does your mom want for Mother's Day? Well, my mom always just wants pictures of her kids all together with her grandkids. And this is a tall order because we don't all live in the same place. So I hate to spoil this for you, Brooke, because I know you're listening, but you're getting an Aura digital picture frame for Mother's Day, which is coming up soon, like May 11th. So don't forget. Aura Frames was named the best digital photo frame by Wirecutter and featured in 495 gift guides last year. So next time you need to call your mom, you can also send her a new pic of you from that trip you've been telling her all about, right from your phone. I think the only picture my mom has of all of us together is at Casa Bonita. It's the only time maybe all of us were together. Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day, too. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver mat frame. That's AURA frames.com. Use promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
What sort of promises have you made to yourself this year? Getting in better shape, eating healthier, saving more money, traveling somewhere new? What about discovering a new culture by learning a new language? With Babbel, you can do that in just a few weeks. I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by over 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in new languages, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations. The Spanish I learned on Babbel really helped me on a recent trip to Mexico City, ordering in restaurants, shopping at the textile market, cheering on at the Lucha Libre, and I've been keeping it up since I got home. You're a podcast listener. I know that because you're listening here. I bet you'll love Babbel's new podcasts. On Eavesdrop in Espanol, which I listen to, you get to listen to a real conversation, then have the teacher host explain back to you. Then you listen again and catch everything. And you can even read along in the transcript. It's a really fun and effective way to learn. Let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting CityCast listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hey, we're back.
And if you didn't hear it earlier, we're in the middle of our spring membership campaign.
And we just want to remind you, like, we are human people making this podcast and making our newsletter, Hey Denver, every single day. And we know your feed can be full of AI slop and the polarizing nature of national politics. And we know that you tune in to listen to us and read us because we bring a little nuance. We bring a little of the we try to keep it hyper local. And that's what I think makes us really special.
I don't think people know this, but CityCast actually has a brand new AI policy that specifically says that they will never use our voices without our permission.
That is a really terrifying thing about this moment and the careers that we've chosen.
Yeah, but let me tell you, listeners, and be specific, I'm not going to give that permission. If you hear my voice, it's always going to be me. It's never going to be an AI chatbot.
Oh, same.
And that's why this podcast is special. We're actually here, your neighbors, experiencing every day in this city right alongside you, trying to make sense of it.
So if you want to join us, if you want to support us doing this work every single day, you can go to membership.citycast.fm. Join us for just $10 a month. Also, you get a cool mug.
It's a very good mug. This time it's a very good mug.
Legitimately, I love this. They call it a, quote, diner style mug. It is a diner style mug. It's that, like, a little bit smaller.
Thicker.
Yeah, classic coffee mug.
Some good weight to it.
And it's got this great, it's cool. It says neighbor, great font. Very retro. I love it. So
you get a mug. We're doing some neighbors only events soon. You get an opportunity to shout out a local business or nonprofit that you love.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear what those are.
I can't wait to learn more about nonprofits I've never heard of from our neighbors.
Yeah.
So again, membership.citycast.fm. Sign up and support us today. Okay. It's Tuesday. We get to hear from our brilliant and hilarious listeners.
Good.
We love this part. You all give us feedback, critiques, questions, all sorts of things about past episodes. Paul, do you want to read this first one?
Yes. This is one of my favorite topics. Lillian C. wrote us an email responding to the episode we did recently with the title, Is Immigration Dividing Local Liberals? Lillian writes, Hello. I listened to this specific episode because I was wondering if you would discuss a thought my partner and I have been considering lately about the Democratic Party. We have been feeling that the Democratic Party is less of a community than the Republican Party. With more centrist Democratic views, we often find it challenging to have an open conversation with our friends as they tend to hold more left-leaning or differing perspectives. Essentially, if our beliefs don't align 100%, then it feels like they look at me differently, and I am no longer seen as a Democrat in their eyes. On the flip side, it seems that the Republican Party is much more of a team. Even though they also have a wide range of views, they appear to come together as long as they're voting for a Republican representative. They feel aligned and share camaraderie. The barrier to entry for far-left Democrats is very high, while it seems the opposite is true for the Republican Party. I'd be curious to hear if you all have thoughts on this or would be willing to discuss it with viewpoints from both Republicans and Democrats. Thank you and love the show.
What did you think about this, Paul?
Oh, I totally agree.
Okay.
I mean, all my more like liberal, left-leaning people in my life, I shared this after the election. I think it's like, it's very hard to talk about things because there's either I care about the things that they don't care about, or they care about the things that I don't care about. And then we're fighting about priorities and values. And it's very difficult. And from what I've observed from the more conservative folks in my life, it's just not like that. Like, I think the old slogan was liberals fall in love, Republicans fall in, or conservatives fall in line with candidates. You know, you saw that with Obama. Like, he was inspiring, and even people with differing views got behind it because he was the person that like you fell in love with.
He had great music taste.
He has great
I mean,
taste
if you're talking
in a lot
about
of stuff.
falling in love with people, I'm saying there's these signals for folks that I definitely fall for those sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing that helps overcome these differences of the specific policy differences that might be dividing liberals. What do you think, though? I feel like I'm interested in what you think.
The Bernie rally is where I saw people that were probably Hillary voters a couple years ago. And I think that the evolution of that has been troubling for some folks on the farther side of the left who were kind of like, where were you? Where, you know what I mean? And so, like,
well, also the Democratic Party itself, like, actively undermined Bernie,
right,
in order to get the candidate they wanted.
But I don't know. I mean, I think what I'm seeing more is people desiring to make a change or be a part of a solution to this current situation politically, and they're looking for ways outside of just talking about ideology. How do we come together to make a difference in our community or a larger impact? And because I don't see them aligning with politics. The politics anymore is like, the Democratic Party isn't representing me, so I'm actually just trying to go find community.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's still the division, though. I mean, especially with the immigration example. Like, I don't know. I see that as such a huge issue for liberals to figure out in the next 2 years before 2026. If they want to take back control of one of the chambers of Congress, that there needs to be some kind of a message. Because Trump has got a message. You know, he had a message and he's doing it. Yeah, and I think terrifying. A lot of conservatives, a lot of his voters like it. Same with tariffs. I was hearing people that voted for him being like, yeah, tariffs are great, even after the market crashed last week or 2 weeks ago.
That's wild. That's wild to me.
Hey, CityCast. According to me and my calculator, you will spend more time this week between the sheets than you will at work. So upgrade your sheets to Cozy Earth. Luxury starts where you rest. I start my evening in buttery soft Cozy Earth bamboo pajamas. Then I dip into a Cozy Earth bamboo sheet set. They are silky and temperature regulating. Forget the 9 to 5. Prioritize your 5 to 9. Cozy Earth products will transform those hours into a sanctuary. And they take comfort seriously with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Luxury should not be out of reach, so Cozy Earth is giving CityCast listeners 40% off their best-selling sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. Visit CozyEarth.com and use the code CozyDenver for 40% off, because you deserve a great night's sleep, and sanctuary awaits at Cozy Earth.
Hi, y'all. I'm Molly McKinley. I work in transportation and climate advocacy, and I've lived in the Denver area since 2018. When I first moved here, I really wanted to connect to Denver's history and culture. I cared about the city, but I didn't always know how to access its deeper story. That's where CityCast Denver comes in. They help fill in the gaps. It gave me context, helped me feel more at home, and made me even more invested in what's happening locally. Plus, it's made by local people who genuinely care about the city and want to help the rest of us connect with it in real, meaningful ways. I became a member last year because I realized how much I'd miss CityCast Denver if it disappeared. Supporting something you love, especially when it helps you feel connected to your city, just makes sense. And now, as a member, I get even more out of it, like ad-free listening, a weekly email rounding up the best local events across the city, and members-only swag. If you're not a member yet, now's a great time to invest in local journalism. Join me and become a CityCast Denver neighbor by visiting membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm.
We got a voicemail here from Chandler.
Hi, my name's Chandler, and I'm in Northeast Park Hill. I was listening to the episode about discussing the A-line, And I have a solution. So half the time I take it out to the airport, I don't even buy a ticket until I see them trying to scan tickets because it's $10 and they don't always scan it. Sometimes I've gone out there for free. So I think, one, they have to double track it, obviously. And then two, if they put in turnstiles at the airport, so like you have to scan in or out, just like every other transport I've taken in other cities, and then maybe reduce the price to $5, because that's the other thing is I'll have family come in and they don't want to pay $10, so I'll just go out and pick them up. But if it was $5, they'd be more than willing to pay it, and then I just pick them up at the bus station or the train station. So I think having it $5, more people will probably use it, and then having an actual turnstile so they actually get that money. Because honestly, I know a lot of people who do the same thing as I do. Wait until they see someone scanning tickets to activate their ticket. Because otherwise, why would I activate it if no one's scanning it? Yeah, thanks. Bye.
There's a lot of things in
There's
here.
a lot going on here, yeah.
Yeah. One, I think the question of value. I liked that. Like if it was $5 and not $10, and I thought, it's like a $50 plus ride in an Uber. So $10 still seems pretty reasonable. But for some folks, that's the tipping point.
Oh, or imagine if you got a family, you got 4 people, you got to get
that's
4
how I
tickets.
travel.
That's $40 versus a $50 Uber.
Yeah.
If the Uber's more convenient than waiting 20 minutes for the A-line. I rode the A-line like 3 weeks ago on the way back from the airport. It was such a pain in the ass. It was so cold. I was waiting on the platform for like 25 minutes because I just missed one. It only comes every half an hour at that time. And then I had the moment the same as this person. I bought my ticket and then I was waiting to activate it. And then the guy started coming by to check it. And I was like, damn, there it goes, $10. I could have saved that another time. But yeah.
Yeah, then that
it's
brings
weird.
into the play how your conscience plays into this. Like I feel like my Catholic guilt comes out and I will buy a ticket every time out of fear that someone is going to check it. Like I would never...
Mm-hmm.
I could not live with myself, which is wild. But I also think that this speaks to the design component of how the ticketing system, like it doesn't look legit.
Mm-hmm.
And like you go to New York, you have to, I mean, people jump fare all the time, but it's clear by the built environment, you should pay to get in. And I don't think that that's necessarily the messaging you get with light rail.
No, it's a little bit confusing. And we have another comment about that in a second. But I wanted to touch on the other point from Chandler, which was obviously they have to double track it, the A-line. That's been a comment from a lot of people for a long time of like, why can't it come more frequently? Mm-hmm. And it's because the way it was built was single tracked. So it can only come so often. So double tracking it, make it come more frequently, make it more useful for people. It'll be more appealing. The reason why they aren't doing that is because it's extraordinarily expensive. It would be another like multi-billion-dollar infrastructure project. That's why that's not happening. Yeah.
Then I go to the transit. I hear the transit people going, and what have we spent on highway expansions over the last couple of decades? But I think the frequency, I mean, this is all stuff that transit folks figured out a long time ago. Frequency and reliability are huge reasons why people do or do not take public transportation.
Yeah.
So
let's get to this last question because this, like I said, it touches on the turnstile, the design piece that you were talking about. So this was an email from Nate E, longtime listener Nate E. Hi, I just listened to the interview with Nathaniel Miner, and it reminded me that I've always had a question about an RTD that's never been answered. Why didn't RTD set up a toll system similar to the subway in Chicago or New York City? Why did they choose what is essentially an honor system with random checks by RTD staff? The agency is always desperate for more funding, but they seem to have made the intentional decision to forego ticket revenue. The checks by staff are so sporadic that it's worth it to a lot of people to not pay and risk getting caught. Why did they design it this way? It had to be intentional.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Great question.
I think a lot of folks are faced with that, especially if maybe they're new to it and they go and they're like, wait, do I pay? Do I not?
Yeah. Anyway, I posed this question to Nate Miner.
Our guest.
So this is his very last goodbye, probably.
Nate.
I think he's actually driving out of town
He's like,
today as people see this.
Bye.
Anyway, Nate says, it's pretty common for at-grade light rail systems to operate on the honor system. Before the pandemic, it seemed to be working just fine when I reported this story in early 2020. There's a link I'll put in the show notes. This is what I wrote about then and what it would take to add turnstiles, etc. So this is then a quote. RTD has considered hardening its stations by adding turnstiles and gates, outgoing general manager Dave Genova said at a September meeting, but that infrastructure could cost $175 million to build and $16.7 million to operate every year, according according to a 2011 analysis. That not only has a huge capital expense, but then it has a huge labor expense because then we have to have staff at every location where we have turnstiles and gates. And that infrastructure would be difficult to install in downtown Denver where stations are on public sidewalks. Interesting. We have an open system, said Steve Martingano, deputy chief of RTD's police department at that time. It's a beautiful system of not looking at fencing and turnstiles and stuff, that nature. And in order to show that it's working, we just please ask you to pay. RTD estimates that it lost about $850,000 to rail system fare evasion in 2018. That amounts to less than 1% of the $143 million in fare revenue collected that year, and a tiny percentage of the overall revenue. Which gets to the bigger question of like, some cities don't charge for public transit at all.
Which is is something that's been posed.
Maybe we do that.
Totally. I mean, that would up the usage by a ton. I'm also just thinking about it. DIA is one of the busiest airports in the world. It's not that there isn't clientele there. I wonder, we're just missing out on getting more folks to use it by, I don't know, making it clearer, making it less expensive. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. This train service is a very high traffic, money producing thing, right? Like DIA produces a ton of revenue. So I don't know. There's people.
Yeah, it could be.
It.
I mean, different levers to pull, I think. That's how I feel about this. Is like RTD could change a lot of things. Like what are our goals specifically and what are we trying to get to? Is it like, is that revenue that important? Maybe we don't need it, or maybe they do need it. Maybe it is really important. I don't know, actually.
Yeah, I don't know either, because I see that it's not just that they need staff to run these ticketing systems. I think folks would also feel safer if there was staff. So that might be a part of it too, is like, I never see anybody on the train. I don't feel comfortable riding the train. Yeah.
So maybe the staff that's checking your ticket on the train is a boon, whereas the staff on the station verifying whether or not people are using the turnstiles is less of a benefit.
Although one of those out in the middle of nowhere stations when you're standing out there late at night by yourself, just having somebody in a ticket booth that'd be nice. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be really nice.
Some of those are kind of dicey.
Yeah. I think I remember that happened to me in New York once when I accidentally took the train all the way to Queens, and then I was on this platform and I didn't know where I was, and there was no one, there was not a soul in sight. And it was like, not just scary, but like, I don't know what to do.
You just kind of feel vulnerable.
Yeah. There's so many factors involved here, but I don't know. One day we'll get our transit right. Anyway, Nate, thank you for answering that question for us. Always loved having you on. Best of luck to him. He's going to be covering state politics in the Midwest instead of transit in Denver. So
good luck.
Hopefully someone picks up the mantle and continues, because we know how important it is to track and cover transit.
Yeah, and thanks to Nate E. for the question.
Yeah, great question. Well, if you have questions or thoughts, give us a call, 720-500-5418. You can call us about any episode ever. We love talking about past episodes. We love answering your questions. Again, that number is 720-500-5418. Well, Paul, I think that's it.
See you next time.
See ya. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell former RTD General Manager Dave Genova about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. Oh, hey, and be our neighbor. Go to membership.citycast.fm to support and sign up today. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later. I'm going to do that again because I ran out of breath.